Hey guys, it's me Ness, and I'm going to react to another Wrestle Gift video, which is Prime Vince McMahon is insane. So, to those who may understood that as of now, because Vince McMahon is dealing with the lawsuit situation, he's no longer part of WWE. But the thing is that Vince at the time when he run his brother's promotion, which is the WWF at the time, which is changed to WWF, and then to where he is right now as WWE. Vince has a lot of crazy ideas. Most of it is like, it's insane. The fact that this guy is able to wrestle in his 50s or 60s, depending on the age that he was, doing so. It's kind of wild. Like, this guy was too jacked, kind of bit too crazy with the promos. You just don't know if, he could be somewhat of a good, person in terms of the character of being babyface or a heel, but most likely he's known for being a good heel. So let's get into the video to see how Vince McMahon became, or Prime Vince became, too much of a character for not just on TV, but in future things that happen for the company itself.
From the 80s to the mid-90s, Vince McMahon was a constant presence on WWE television. He would always appear
Yep.
doing interviews and commentary and was the voice of the company, and yet most viewers had no idea he was also the owner of the company. But
Yeah.
by 1999, that all changed. Everyone knew he was the owner of the company, and he was full-fledged the most evil character in wrestling. He was 54
Yeah.
years old and went from looking like this to looking like this. He
Yep.
was so jacked, he was so oily, it didn't make any sense, and the Mr. McMahon character was out in full force. In 1999 alone, Vince was running around, going through tables, falling off steel cages, winning the Royal Rumble, arranging his daughter to be kidnapped and married by The Undertaker. He hated Austin so much that he even
The fact that he risked his own body at that type of age, like he's doing it for the entertainment, for the ratings, and that's how Vince, who he was. Like, it's all about the money for him, because in order to make a company successful, and he had wars against WCW, and throughout the years, product can sometimes be all right and sometimes it's not. That's how it is when it comes to the wrestling company.
got his son involved in the beef and was having
Yep.
handicap ladder matches, and by the end of the year
Basically a
he was
family
also
feud.
the WWE champion. What a lifestyle. All of that was already insane, but the thing about Mr. McMahon was the more he was on television, the older he got, the more mental this guy got. See,
Yep.
99 and 2000, Mr. McMahon was iconic, right? They were special times, but the thing is, as the years went by, Vince was out here evolving like a Pokemon. Just when you thought Vince was wildin', he went further and further and crazier
Yep.
and crazier, and there are 4 years in the 2000s that are perfect examples of this. We begin in 2001, the beginning of prime Mr. McMahon. So as 2001 began, Vince had already told Linda that he wanted a divorce. He broke Linda's heart so badly that she actually had a mental breakdown and needed to be placed in a mental institution, but every time Stephanie would beg him, he would just kind of be like, sounds like a personal problem to me. So he has his wife sent to a mental institution, he disowns his daughter, and to really kickstart his midlife crisis, he begins to have an affair with Trish Stratus. And it's like,
Yep.
okay, that's fine, doesn't
Oh,
every
boy.
50-year-old man do that? Well, yeah, but he goes above and beyond as is tradition for the Big Mac Man. Because eventually he starts taking Trish to Linda to flaunt her, and then he finds out that his wife, Linda McMahon, is in a comatose state, meaning that she's in a state of deep unconsciousness for a prolonged or indefinite period. So yo, this maniac
The fact that you put your wife in a situation like this, getting kissed with one of the hottest women at the time, it's really wild, not gonna lie.
takes Linda, who's in a wheelchair, basically
Bro,
unconscious,
she
and
just
does this in front of
yeah.
her, just going crazy, tongue and mouth and everything, and Linda is just there, his real life wife, just being
Yeah.
forced to watch this, and it just gets worse and worse. Vince was just out here for the first time showing us how wild he can truly be, and this all
Yep.
leads to WrestleMania 17. Father versus son, his son Shane McMahon comes back for revenge for his mother, and he proceeds to just clap his dad in a classic match. Vince basically dies in this match, Linda finally wakes up and stands
Yep.
up to him, and you're like, damn, okay, Vince finally got what was coming to him. You know, it came crashing down and it definitely hurt inside. He got embarrassed on the grandest stage of them all, and now maybe, just maybe, he might go back to normal, right? Maybe he can finally relax, just be the boss, do his thing, just go back to normal. But no, no, because
Yep.
by the end of the year, he's in the ring having men kiss his ass on live television.
Yep.
Bro, what the 2001, Vince was an evil monster, just pushing the boundaries of what
What in
anyone
the
would ever expect
ritual,
to see in a
man?
wrestling show. But the thing was, this was just the beginning. See, if you thought 2001 Vince was wild, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you 2003 Mr.
Ah,
McMahon. The
yeah.
year that Vince had beef
Yep.
with Hulk Hogan, the year he wanted to kill Hulkamania, the year he stabbed Hulk Hogan with a pen and then signed the contract in his blood. What a special year in the
Not
life
that
of Vince
one.
McMahon this was.
There's
So in 03, Vince
there's also another thing, but I'm sure he's gonna explain this one. If not, I'll put into details.
goes to WrestleMania jacked and oilier than ever, has a match with Hogan in where for some reason he jumps off a ladder through an announce table
Yep.
because apparently he's Jeff Hardy now, and then goes full horror movie mode for this iconic scene all in one match. But the problem was, he lost that match to Hogan. And
Yep.
this was the worst thing that could have ever
Hulk was like, that's not gonna work for me, brother. Man, rest in peace to Hulk, but still, come on, bro.
happened to this man, because this is when he truly lost all of his marbles. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people forgot how insane 2003 Mr. McMahon truly was. So first he fires Hogan and tells him you're never allowed back here, and finally Vince is happy. He's relieved that he doesn't have to worry about Hogan anymore. But the problem was the next week Mr. America made his WWE debut.
Right now we got Mr. or no, what's his name again? Americano. That guy, El Grande. Yeah, sorry. El Grande Americano. Now we got this before El Grande Americano of 2003.
And for some reason, nobody knows why to this day, Vince had gone so crazy by then, he was so delusional that for some reason he thought Mr. America was Hulk Hogan. So he makes it his personal vendetta to embarrass Mr. America and prove to the world that he's Hulk Hogan. So he ends up taking a lie detector test with Mr. America to prove he's Hogan. But nah, according to the lie detector test, Mr. America isn't Hogan, and instead, well, we find this out.
I am no pervert.
And this just drives
Oh
Vince
my-
crazier and crazier.
Yeah.
So Mr. America ends up befriending a 20-year-old kid named Zach Gowen, who only has one leg. The
legend.
poor kid had lost his leg at the age of 8 years old due to cancer, but Vince sees this and he makes it his mission to destroy this poor kid's life. The kid already only had one leg, but for Vince that was one too many. So first he challenges the kid to an arm wrestling match, right? And that's fine, that's normal, until you see Vince, and I'm telling you, he was even more jacked and oilier than ever. So he starts losing the arm wrestling match, and he ends up kicking the kid in the one leg that he does have, makes him leave the ring, and then starts mocking his limp. But yo, that was just the beginning, because every week Vince would basically torture this poor kid. Every single week, at least once a week, and twice when there was a pay-per-view, this 58-year-old man was destroying this one-legged kid's life. Literally for no reason. This poor kid didn't do anything, didn't bother anyone, but Vince was just so cracked out at this point, he just hated him. So Brock Lesnar ends up breaking the kid's other leg, and now Zach Gowen, who has no legs at this point, he is tied to a wheelchair, his mouth is covered, and Vince McMahon ends up ordering Brock Lesnar to push him down the stairs, and this ends up becoming the greatest day of his life when Vince finally conquered the one-legged 20-year-old. So now it's late 2003, right? Vince has bought WCW, Austin is retired, Hogan is gone, the one-legged kid has no legs now, he has Sable as a side beast, life is good, life is set, he's a billionaire, he can finally relax and chill and just do his own thing. But nah, instead he has to go beef his own daughter on live pay-per-view.
This is the one thing that's like, man, it's so, like, you already got Shane versus Vince, and now you got Stephanie versus Vince. I quit match. Oh my goodness. Well, not gonna lie, to be honest, like, Stephanie was good back in the day. You got Sable, who basically lost to WWF or WWE, and then she, you know, decided, you know what, I'll be back in the company just to be the mistress of Vince. And then get married to Brock years later. So that's how it is.
Yes, yes, this was a
Yep,
real match that happened on pay-per-view. I would show clips, but I'm not trying to get demonetized. And it
of
wasn't just a normal
course.
match. No, why would we keep it a normal match? They made it an I Quit match. Vince McMahon
Yep.
versus Stephanie McMahon, No Mercy '03, an I Quit match. And just to make it even better, they had Linda, so his wife and Stephanie's mom, watching at ringside, enjoying this 5-star classic masterpiece. Like, yo, it doesn't make any sense. There is nothing that Vince wouldn't do. There's nothing he
Yeah.
wouldn't say, and this just shows that definitely there is nobody safe from the McMahon. At the end of the day, this was still the owner of the company. This was the same guy that was in charge of $1 billion company, who answered to stakeholders, who was the boss, and just happened to be doing this at the exact same time.
Oh
He
my
could do
goodness.
whatever he wanted in his own
Yeah.
company, on his own television show, and this was the stuff that he wanted to do. Nah, yo, 2003 Vince on SmackDown was a true menace, but fast forward to 2005, okay? '03 was done, it came, it went, he had his beefs, did his thing, it's gone. By 2005, Vince had finally calmed down a bit, to be honest. He was finally kind of normal now, and if anything, when he came out on TV, he
No,
wasn't really
he
the
wasn't.
evil boss. If anything, he was
He
being
wasn't.
cheered by most of the fans. He was
Yeah.
at the stage of his career where he can just be the boss, get some cheers and relax, and just settle down. Maybe 2001 and 2003 Vince was the past now. I mean, listen, by now, he was 60 years old, right? It makes sense. He had just tore both of his quads on live pay-per-view. Maybe it's time to just take it easy, ride off into the sunset. You had your fun, you know, respect. Nope, gotta beef God in
Yep.
2006. Yo,
This is the thing that is so bad, man. Like, what? Of course, like, teaming up with, Shane, which is alright. It was wild for Vince to say, I'll team up with my product of my semen, which is Shane. And then Sean's tag team partner is God, which is like, what the frick, man?
it doesn't make any sense. I swear to God, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Vince has any minor inconvenience in life. Just one thing doesn't go his way, this man just goes 1,000 times harder. See, in 99 and
Yeah.
2000, Vince was pretty normal because everything was going well, right? Well, the
Yeah.
XFL fails in 2001. He ends up losing $30 million plus. Time to start a club, pal. WrestleMania 19 in 2003 does a horrible buy rate. More people bought the Royal Rumble that year than WrestleMania. Well, time to beat up a one-legged kid, pal. And then he tears both of his quads on live pay-per-view in 2005. A total freak accident. It's an accident. It happens. You can't control it. It's fine, right? Whatever. Time to beef God, pal. Yo, that was Vince in the Ruthless Aggression era. And in 2006, I don't even know
2006
how
was
to
a
explain
wild.
this. So he had beef with HBK. He had beef with Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
But HBK didn't have a partner. And Vince really wanted to have a match. You know, he just really wanted to have one. And he couldn't make it a 3-on-1 match. No, that's unfair. So being the kind, generous man that Vince is, he gave Shawn Michaels the greatest tag team partner they could possibly find. And look how nice Vince was. He even gave him a special entrance and everything.
God
But at the
damn.
end of the day, even that wasn't enough to stop the Big Mac Man. So for the rest of humanity, as long the world exists, as long as the universe exists, as long as wrestling is a thing, in the wrestling history books, it will forever say this. Nah, man, life is just a simulation. Nothing, I mean, absolutely nothing is off limits for Vince. I mean,
Oh,
do
this
I
one.
even have to explain this picture over
No,
here?
no, no,
So
no.
that was
That's
06,
good.
right? How
We're
could
good, man.
Vince ever top this? He tweaked in 01, he tweaked in 03, 06. How could he top this? Well, he somehow found a way in 07. So at WrestleMania 23 in 2007, Vince was in the middle of the ring. He lost his match, and in front of 80,000 people,
Yeah.
he got embarrassed and humiliated.
Yeah,
He's
his hair
crying, he's
shaved.
depressed, he has shaving cream everywhere, and worst of all, he was bald. He was left looking like this, and Vince McMahon was down so bad. You know, this is
To be honest, like, it would happen to be on Donald Trump because, of course, Vince was like, oh, I'm doing this for the money, so that good hair is already gone, and now, as time passes, he never got the same amount of hair that he once had and before he got shaved, so it's all for the ratings, guys.
is Vince McMahon. This is the Big Mac Man. He
Yeah.
can't be like this. He can't be depressed. He needed to get his swagger back. He needed to get his mojo back, and he needed to be the man once again. So what does he do? Well, he starts wearing a do-rag and becomes ECW champion and starts walking around thinking he's 2003 50 Cent. For
Oh my
some reason in
goodness.
2007, Vince
The
McMahon
do-rag
put on a do-rag,
Vince.
got superpowers, and the
Oh
craziest
my
part is,
goodness.
this is the happiest Mr. McMahon I have ever seen in my life on television. Yo, it turns out it wasn't the millions of dollars, it wasn't being the feds in court, it wasn't Trish, it wasn't Sable or his little club that he had on the side. All he needed to be happy in life was a do-rag and the ECW championship. Yo, he would just go around and be the biggest troll. The way he would
Yeah.
walk, the way he would talk, the way he would dress. I mean, yo, just look at this. This was a fit that would make Cameron jealous. Nah, yo, '07 Durag Vince was just that guy.
Excuse me while I
Whip this out.
He would say whatever he wanted, do whatever he wanted. He would go onto ECW and just troll everyone. One time in the
Yeah.
ring are all these former ECW
Rip to the ECW brand.
champions, you know, these legends of the business, legends of the company, and RVD goes like, you're making a mockery of the ECW championship, and Vince just goes like, you're damn right I am. This was like the evil version of Prison Mike come to life. Durag Vince was in the cut. He had his own special handshakes now. He'd be doing some weird things with his hands, throwing up gang signs. This man loved the ECW championship and his durag more than he loved anything. He loved his durag and his championship more than he loved his own son. For 2 months, Durag Vince was just a meme. I don't know how else to describe it. He was just the biggest meme. So Vince loved that championship more than he loved anything. So when he lost that belt, he was so depressed. He was so sad that the man forgot how to talk. He basically became Linda McMahon in 2001. So I guess karma is real. This
Yeah.
man forgot how to talk, and he would just sit there in his rocking chair, just missing and crying, thinking about his ECW championship. This man was so depressed, he was down so bad that he faked his own death. I don't think anyone will ever forget being a kid and turning on Raw and watching, and this is just what they end up seeing. Nah, man,
Yeah.
I'm done. I can't. Mr. McMahon, just insane. That is all I can say. Prime Mr. McMahon is without a doubt the most insane, the craziest, just the most mental character we have ever seen in wrestling.
Also, before continue, they kind of end that, storyline or the part where Vince limo got exploded because it found out weeks later the, Chris Benoit passed away. So, of course, they kind of cut it off, and then, Vince was back explaining the situation that it's just all a work, and yeah, basically that's how the Prime Vince McMahon ended. So, yeah.
And of course, let's be real. Is it really a character? No, not at all. But Vince in those 4 years,
To be honest, it could not be a character. It's basically, well, it could be, but it's like more than just that.
in my opinion, in '01, '03, '06, and '07, we will never ever see a character like that ever again. And
No.
honestly, maybe
Today's world,
for
no.
good reason.
No.
How was this even allowed in the first place? Yo, this was
Because it was around the time when, cancel culture wasn't exist, and at the same time, it was the ruthless aggression era. It's still like post attitude era situation. So it is what it is.
such a crazy time to grow up, right? Like, we were kids
Yeah.
and we would tune in to watch wrestling, and this was a part of the presentation. This was the product. Like, this was normal. Every now and then Vince
Yep.
would just come back and it became the wild west. He would do whatever he wanted, say whatever he wanted. And yo, you knew when Vince was on TV and you were a kid, you were probably watching something that you shouldn't be watching. But once upon a time, this was normal. Yo, I swear, even though we ran down this, we saw the pictures, we saw the clips and everything, we talked about it, this still feels so surreal. Prime Mr. McMahon was just insane. That is the best way to put it. What a time it was to be alive. In the
Yep.
comments down below, let me know your personal wildest memory of Vince McMahon when you were watching back in the day. What was the one moment that just made your jaw go on the floor and you were just there like, yo, whoa, what is going on? But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. It's your boy Pav, aka Wrestling Ifs. I'll catch you guys on the next one soon. Until then, take it easy, take care, and I'll see you guys later.
It's the end of the video, guys. Man, Vince McMahon is well, you could say menace, you can say he's a savage, but yeah, he's more like that individual that you never thought that he's going to portray in TV. Could be one of the best heels in the business because You know, there's no one that has that type of control of being the most evil billionaire and then added those type of ways of how he's going to do it for the ratings. He doesn't give a damn if his hair shaved bald. He doesn't give a damn if he fight against his, you know, family members. He doesn't give a damn if he gets many mistresses, because in the end of the day, it's all about, you know, for the ratings. And yeah, that's what made WWE became where it is. It's all about, you know, watching what's next for Vince. Vince was basically the one guy that people want to see get beat up, because of course he's being too much, but that's how it is. And even if now, you know, hopefully WWE is not gonna bring him back. Hopefully, because we already know the latest situation that happened to him. But in the end of the day, Vince is truly a one of a kind, one of a kind individual that would never be replicated ever again. Even if there is a evil authority figure in the future, not the authority, but more like this type of version. But in the end of the day, all right, in the end of the day, no one's gonna be like Vince. It's just only once in a lifetime that Vince can do this during that ruthless aggression era, and that's that. So all I can say is that thank you for watching, and we will see each other in the next video. Peace.